robot.
And this is 2020.
She's the sanest, crazy person you've ever met. The public was obsessed because this was a case that was drenched in sex, and lies, and religion, and sex.
That is so debasing. I like it.
Travis was addicted to Jody.
He's had a little taste, but he wants even more.
She was his kryptonite.
She was his dirty little secret.
He made me feel like a very beautiful person on the inside.
She became very possessive of him. Very possessive. I said, Travis, I'm afraid we're going to find you chopped up in her freezer.
It was a fatal attraction. Definitely a fatal attraction here.
What's going on? A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom.
The amount of blood all over. All over. It was everywhere.
He was slaughtered. There's no other way to describe it.
She arrived at the house. She's having sex with him. They're taking the picture.
The camera accidentally fell and took a couple shots. Photos of Travis in the shower.
Even as the homicide occurred, the camera is continuing to clip photographs. It's almost like having somebody videotape your murder.
The final picture of him alive.
Jody is taken into the interrogation room, and what she does there stuns the world.
Think it's wrong, but I don't want to be right.
I am an artist, I'm a photographer. It started off that way when I was younger. I got a little 110 camera, which is kind of that old, cheap film. I took pictures of everything from my foot to a tree or a leaf or my cat. Over the years, it developed into something that I became really passionate about.
Jodi Arias had a very normal upbringing. She grew up in the middle of California.
I have a large family. We're all pretty close.
In high school yearbook photos, Jodi appears to be a happy, innocent, carefree kid.
Her family moved around a little bit in California. She spent some time in her childhood in Salinas, and then they moved up near the Oregon border to Wairika. Jodi Arias' parents owned a Mexican food restaurant where Jodi worked as a waitress when she was a teenager.
Moving to a new town while she was a teenager was really tough on Jodi, and she started documenting this in a journal.
I often ask myself why I'm here. I'm completely aware that I dwell in the past all too often to a time of pure fun and true friendships. I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here in Wairika.
Wairika is a small lot of family-owned businesses. There's a lot of beautiful mountain ranges.
I've always been drawn to nature and things like that. I think that inspires a lot of my art and a lot of my photography as well.
Jodi never makes a big name for herself as a photographer. She never makes a lot of money, but she shoots weddings.
She eventually just picked up and grabbed everything she owned and moved to a resort town in California.
Jodi was looking to make more money and to be more successful in life. So she decides to get involved in a network marketing company called Prepaid Legal Services.
She thought, wow, this looks like interesting work, selling legal services to people where they would pay, a fee, and they would have these lawyers on call for them. And she decided to go to a conference that Prepaid Legal had.
The company was having a convention in Vegas, and it was a big deal. And so everybody was beating the drum. You got to go to Vegas, got to go to the convention.
You can see in videos posted on YouTube the energy that was created in these conventions.
Please help me welcome Mr. Travis Alexander.
Travis Alexander was a successful 29-year-old motivational speaker and salesman for Prepaid Legal. He had risen quickly up the ranks.
He had tons of friends and tons of people that always wanted to be around him just because he was a great guy.
His main goal in life was just to make people laugh and to make them feel better about themselves. In this YouTube video, Travis talks about being single.
When I first started, you can imagine the first thing I would hear a lot of is, by the way, he's single. And I'd be like, that's right, I am. Maybe he's going to get me. That's been going on for 6 years.
Travis was the T-Dog. a huge flirt.
Travis was always in the market. He was always Travis was looking for his wife.
I knew that Travis was single, and I said, hey, there's this really good-looking gal on my team. You ought to meet her.
Jody's at the MGM Grand. They're standing outside the Rainforest Cafe, and this handsome, well-dressed man comes up to her and says, hi, I'm Travis. And it's clear from the get-go they have a potent chemistry.
She's beautiful. She's friendly, long blonde hair, cute figure. She was very sweet.
He said, hey, listen, do you have a nice dress? Because I'd like to take you to the formal executive dinner with me as my guest.
During the dinner, they just talked the whole time. She seemed to like him as much as...
No, I mean, I was like, okay, good for you, Travis. It was cute to watch. Jody was actually in a committed relationship, but you wouldn't know it.
Jody'd been with the same guy for about 4 years, but they were having problems. She was desperate to get married and have kids. He had already been married. He had a kid. He didn't want to do it again, so she was looking elsewhere.
After the banquet, Travis and her hung out until 4 o'clock in the morning, just talking and getting to know each other. And the next morning, he tells me that he's found his wife, and this is the girl that he wants to marry.
To her, this night was the magic, was the Cinderella moment. She met a prince, and that was Travis.
One thing he always told me is that, pretty girls are a dime a dozen, but it's what's on the inside that kind of makes people stand out. He made me feel like a very beautiful person on the inside.
After that first encounter, Travis is very much infatuated with Jody. He's had a little taste, but he wants even more.
We got to know each other through hours upon hours of phone conversations. We just discovered a lot of common interests and grew close.
Travis lives in Mesa, Arizona. Jody lives in California. So they're having a long-distance relationship, and they begin meeting at Travis's friend's house. It's a convenient rendezvous point.
She was really excited about the relationship. She loved how funny he was, how much fun they would have together. Travis loved to take adventures and do different things.
Jody documented their time together online by posting photos on her MySpace page.
So Jody and Travis, they shared a lot of interests together, key being traveling. They had a book called 1,000 Places to See Before You Die, just traveling around through these places in the book together.
We went to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. We saw Sedona. We saw the Grand Canyon. It was a mutual goal to check things off that list. I'm always pointing the camera in every direction, and he was always a very enthusiastic and willing subject.
In emails that Travis sent to Chris and Sky, he actually talks about how deeply he cared about Jody.
I went from intrigued by her, to interested in her, to caring about her deeply, to realizing how lucky I would be to have her as a part of my life forever. She is amazing. It's not hard to see that whoever scores Jody, whether it be me or someone else, is going to win the wife lotto.
The biggest problem, however, when it came to any kind of romantic relationship was one of religion. Travis Alexander was Mormon, and Jody Arias was not.
He was a Stormin Mormon.
He was deeply involved in the Mormon church, devout.
He was very open. There would be no compromises.
Jody was the first person I ever heard of that he was dating that was not a Mormon.
She was very sensual and very sexual, and Travis was extremely attracted to that because he was not used to that with the women he had dated in the Mormon faith before.
If anyone is even remotely familiar with the Mormon beliefs, no sex before marriage.
She was his kryptonite.
Their relationship was white hot sex.
Travis Alexander started a blog called Travis Alexander Being Better blog, in which he was writing very honestly and candidly about his life and his struggles.
I used to imagine myself as some dangerously handsome tycoon in Time magazine, as one of the world's most eligible bachelors. Then I turned 30. As I tend to do, I did a little soul searching and realized that I
was lonely.
Travis is getting older. Being a devout Mormon, typically when you're 30, 31, you're expected to have a family, have children, be settled down.
In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in these singles congregations that they've got set up across the world, when you turn 31, you're out. You know, like you have to go to a regular congregation, almost like you're getting moved from the main toy box to the broken toys, you know, like the broken toys go over here.
Travis was feeling a bit of pressure to find, as one friend put it, a good Mormon girl, and to marry her. That wasn't Jodi Arias.
Travis starts sending Mormon missionaries to her house. At night, he talks about the Book of Mormon. He quotes scripture to her.
He had a very significant influence on me as far as, my decision to join the church.
She was very spiritual, and so she was open to learning about Mormonism. And this was also a way for her to be more a part of Travis's life.
She chose to become baptized because she thought that's what Travis wanted.
Within a couple of months of them meeting, Jodi is now converting to a new religion. This was unbelievably fast.
Travis actually baptized Jodi himself, and there's a picture of the two of them before the ceremony.
He baptized the feeling that, like, everything just comes right into alignment, and nothing can go wrong.
It was very important for Travis to remain true to his faith because Mormonism saved his life.
Travis had a difficult childhood. He grew up in Southern California, very poor. Both of his parents were serious drug addicts.
My childhood, unfortunately, was very much like any child's that had drug-addicted parents.
It was a very tough life, living with our mother. We kind of fended for ourselves, and, Top Ramen was the main source of nutrition.
When his mother was doing drugs, she would sleep for days at a time, and he was scared to wake her up.
When you sleep for 4 days with a house full of kids, there isn't any food cooked. We would eat what was there, but before long, what was edible would be eaten or rot, and then what was rotten would be eaten too.
His home life got to the point where it was so incredibly abusive. He ran away and went over to his grandmother's house.
Our grandmother was a saint. She was the greatest woman. Put clothes on her back, food in our belly, a warm place to sleep. She got us all into church, pointing us in the right direction.
That kind of became like his saving grace. That gave him his identity and his importance.
He was always incredibly strong in the church, but after meeting Jodi, some of the conversations were about the challenge of morality because this girl's in his life.
The law of chastity in the Mormon Church is clear. Premarital sex is forbidden.
Well, there is a video showing Travis and Jodi very affectionate with each other. It's clear that they have a strong connection. There's a lot of tenderness and just warmth. What people may not have known was that despite both being Mormons, they were also having sex.
In Jodi's journal, she actually writes a lot about the lengths to which the two of them go, indulging in these sexual fantasies.
His bedroom becomes our playground where our passions run wild and certain fantasies are taken to the extreme. The rules melt away.
Travis was addicted to Jodi. This was a woman, a gorgeous woman, who was fulfilling all of his sexual desires.
He really was struggling and suffering in guilt, because he knew that he was outside of the tenets of the faith.
Just wanted to marry a virginal, pure Mormon girl. By having sex with him, Jodi eliminated herself as ever being marriage potential for Travis.
But there were a lot of other problems. Travis and Jodi have been dating for a couple of months when his friends started noticing there's something off with Jodi. Something not quite right.
For example, one night we were all in the hot tub. There's 4 of us, this is a time to chat and hang out. Well, Jody is like climbing on Travis while we're trying to have this conversation.
She was all over him. I mean, like 8th graders whose parents are out of town, like straddling his lap and sucking on his neck, and Travis just kept pushing her off. And he's like, Jody, get off me. Like, what are you doing? And I look at Chris, I'm like, does she not realize we're sitting here?
That was one of those nights where we're like, she's weird, like this is weird.
This is around the time where she became very possessive of him.
Very possessive. She just had to sit right by him. She didn't appreciate when he was talking to another female. She didn't like the fact that if there was anyone that didn't know that they were together, she wanted to make that clear.
I've never experienced being around somebody that's that clingy to another person and just wouldn't leave them alone.
I started seeing things that were just disturbing.
Jody is infatuated with Travis, and she is not letting him go.
She had come undone.
I said, Travis, I'm afraid we're going to find you chopped up in her freezer.
I love him so greatly that my love is bigger than even I can grasp. It fills me and explodes through me.
So within months of meeting, Jody is attached to Travis beyond belief.
They were dating long distance, and Jody was going to a lot of work for this relationship. Jody desperately wanted not just to be Travis's girlfriend, she wanted to be Travis's fiancée and Travis's wife.
Travis's friends didn't embrace Jody the same way Travis did. They saw her a little differently.
As they get to know her better, they get more and more creeped out by her behavior.
From very, very early on, she was completely obsessed with him. I started seeing things that were just disturbing, her following him to the bathroom and standing outside the door without him knowing, or eavesdropping on his conversations, freaking out if he was out of her sight.
She went through his cell phone on multiple occasions. She went through
every email message to or from a woman to herself.
There was this one time where she said that she was getting these messages from some strange man who says that he watches her.
Travis came to me, he goes, let me read you this email, it's really scary. And it was like, Jody, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, Travis doesn't deserve you. Travis lives in Mesa and you live in California and he's too far away, he can't protect you and I know where you live. And I'm laughing at this point, and Travis like, Sky, this is serious, she's very scared. And I said, Travis, she wrote the email. She wants you to ask her to move to Arizona. I said, this is fake. Like, she made this up. We finally decided, like, Chris and I were like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, there's something wrong with her.
And so we're like, hey, let's chat. So Sky, Travis, and myself were all sitting on my bed.
We were just telling him all the things that we were worried about with her. And I said, she's scary. There's something wrong with her.
We started to tell him how we think she's not only not good for him, but she's dangerous. He said, gosh, guys, she's so good. Like, you don't know she's so good.
She's so sweet. She doesn't have anybody else. Like, I really like her. And I said, Travis, I'm afraid we're going to find you chopped up in her freezer. And all of a sudden, I got this cold feeling over, and I knew she was outside our door. And I mouthed to them and pointed to the door, and I said, she's out there.
And Travis was like, no way. And Sky was like, and Travis rips the door open, and she's there.
And the look on her face was just, it was evil.
There was a rage in her eyes. So Sky is very frightened at this point. She might burn down our house, with all of us in it.
And I said, I don't want her at our house anymore. And he said, I agree. She and I went into the study and I said, I'm not comfortable with you in my house. I said, you're obsessed with him, Jody. I'm telling her, your behavior's out of control. There's something wrong with you, and no change in expression until she says to me, are you going to tell him not to date me? And I said, I already did. And she starts crying.
And that was the last time Jodi Arias was in my home.
Travis and Jodi continue seeing each other for another couple months until finally it's over. Travis had began to see things in Jodi that he just wasn't happy with, the obsession and everything else. He told her, I don't want to be together with you anymore. This isn't going anywhere.
Within a week, trying to break up with a woman, she packs up her stuff and moves to Mesa, Arizona to be closer to him.
That's pretty weird, right? I don't ever want to see you again, and then she moves across the country and into your town.
He was saying things like, you have no reason to be in Mesa. We're not together. We're not going to be together. Why can't you leave me alone?
I just remember thinking, that's bananas. That's crazy.
With Jodi now living 10 minutes away, this breakup isn't going to work.
With her so close, he couldn't stay away from her.
Travis told friends that Jodi would show up unannounced at his house, that she would sneak in through the garage door because she knew the code, and at one point she even snuck in through the doggy door.
And sometimes Travis would be angry, and other times he would jump into bed right with her and they would have sex.
The drug dealer with the drug for the addict is there, and he just can't get enough, and he can't help himself.
It was very much a mutual thing. He would send me these little code text messages like Z's ... which meant I'm getting sleepy, coast is clear, company's left, day's work is done, come on over. Maybe I should have been more disciplined, but all it took was a text message, and I said, all right, I'll be right there, and I went.
Meanwhile, Travis is trying to meet other women through the church. He's really looking to settle down, to get married and have a family.
At this point, Travis has been dating a couple Mormon girls from the church, but he becomes most infatuated with a girl named Lisa.
Jodi wanted to sabotage Travis's relationship with Lisa and scare her off.
She made Lisa's life horrible. She would knock on her door and run away. She would knock on the windows.
It's believed that Jodi slashed Travis's tires not once, but 2 consecutive nights when Travis was at Lisa's house.
So at this point, Lisa's scared. And so she asks Travis to stay the night, and Travis slept on the couch and Lisa slept in her room. And the next morning, Lisa woke up to an email.
Lisa received a note with heavy religious language saying that if you ever lay with this man again, God will punish you. Your heavenly Father must be deeply ashamed of the whoredoms you've committed with this insidious man.
His friends obviously knew this came from Jodi, but it was anonymous, so there was never any proof of it.
When he confronts her, she denies everything. This isn't even love anymore for Jodi. This is a complete obsession. Travis has become Jodi's sole focus.
It was a fatal attraction. Definitely a fatal attraction here.
He makes me sick and he makes me happy. He makes me sad.
The further she sunk in this relationship, the more depressed she grew and actually had talked about taking her own life.
I was honestly contemplating suicide this afternoon. I want nothing more than to end it all.
After about 8 months, Travis convinces Jodi to move back to California from Mesa.
She finally just picked up and went back home to her parents and grandparents.
It just became obvious with time that we needed to be apart. We needed to grow apart.
I was excited, and Travis was excited. He said, I'm getting my life back. This is a whole new start. She's gone.
This was supposed to be a new beginning for both of them.
She goes back to California, but it's definitely not the end of it.
You make me so horny. I seriously think about having sex with you every day. Several times a day.
This year will be the best year of my life. This is the year that will eclipse all others. I will find an eternal companion that enhances me exponentially.
So Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander are now 1,000 miles apart. She's in California, he's in Arizona. They're broken up. It's finally done. Over. And they're each moving on with their lives.
A huge weight has been lifted off my shoulder. I'm saddened, yes, but it feels like a conclusion, like closure. The final chapter was finally
excited about getting his life back to normal, not having to deal with her all the time. So things were looking really good.
Each of them is pursuing somebody else.
He started dating a woman named Mimi.
Devout Mormon seems to be someone that he could settle down with.
Mimi was very well educated. She was eloquent, she was confident, and he was just smitten with her.
In the meantime, Jody seems to have found her own new love interest as well.
She starts having a relationship with this new guy. His name is Ryan Burns.
Ryan Burns is a Mormon who has the body of a linebacker, big guy. Jody described him as a hottie biscotti.
I met Jodi Arias at a national convention for our company. She was very easy to talk to. She seemed very intelligent, articulate. She was beautiful.
He lives in Utah. Jody and Ryan start this long-distance relationship where they're talking all the time and making plans to meet up.
Meanwhile, Jody and Travis, while living hundreds of miles apart, they're still talking on the phone and texting.
This was the classic can't live with you, can't live without you scenario. They both knew that they were toxic for each other, but they had this connection.
People at the core, both of us. But we can't behave ourselves when we're around each other, not even over the phone. He said I am still like kryptonite to him.
So now they would call each other and have phone sex.
Notes to him, she was tape recording him.
You're pretty.
Thank you.
You're just so attractive. Like everything about like the details of your body are so hot.
On May 10th, Jodi Arias records them having sex on the phone, and it is triple X-rated.
I wish you were here. If you were here, my grandparents would asleep. I'd let you ride into my bedroom. We'd shut and lock the door, and we would just have a big bed. You'd go at it all night. You make me so horny. I seriously think about having sex with you every day. Several times a day.
They're all in a glass of your straight.
Well, if it's wrong, then I don't want to be right.
I think Jody recorded it to have a weapon in her arsenal to use against him if he did something that she didn't like, or just to threaten him with. Because within a few weeks, they're having a huge fight over G-chat and email.
Back and forth, long communications where he is enraged.
You've hurt me so bad, over and over again. You made me want to die. You don't know what horror you have caused me.
Please understand that. It wasn't really my intention to harm you.
They never quite reveal, either one of them, what exactly they're arguing about. What made him so upset?
He says, you're a sociopath. You scammed me, you lied to me, you're not who you say you are, you're the most evil person I've ever met.
It is bad. It is the fight to end all fights. And I think a lot of people thought at that point, great, it's done. Time for each of you to get on with your lives.
In early June, both Travis and Jody have travel plans with different people. Jody is supposed to go to Salt Lake City to visit her new love interest, Ryan Burns.
I was interested in getting to know her better. She actually called me and said she's going to go on a road trip, and she wanted to come out and visit me. I said, cool, sounds awesome, yeah, you should definitely come out.
And Travis has plans too, with Mimi. The two have gone on a few dates, but Mimi's a bit lukewarm on him.
He really liked Mimi, but she liked him as a friend. She didn't want to date him.
So Travis sets about trying to win her over and invites her. There's a company retreat coming up in Cancun, Mexico.
He wanted Mimi to come with him, to see him in his element.
My job was to convince Mimi how amazing Travis was. Pretty easy job.
This was...
So Chris and I had gone several days before, and Travis and Mimi were going to meet us later. He was super excited about this trip, and we were calling Travis to try to plan some excursions with him and Mimi.
We wanted to, look at the pyramids. We wanted to swim with whale sharks. Well, so I'm calling him and I'm texting him. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? He wasn't responding.
Then Travis missed a conference call that he was supposed to run. And Chris said that's not like Travis to miss the call.
He becomes worried and he leaves him a voicemail message.
I said, T-Dog, you better be dead, bro. Yeah, like I was joking. Call me back. Why are you dissing me? Why aren't you calling me back?
Nobody can reach Travis. Nobody has seen Travis. know something is wrong. There's a company retreat coming up in Cancun, Mexico. All expenses paid. Travis is going with Mimi. Travis's friends have gone ahead a few days before Travis was supposed to fly out. Once they get to Cancun, they keep calling Travis. But it's very strange. They can't reach Travis.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice.
His phone just kept going to voicemail. We kept trying to call again and again, and all of a sudden the voicemail was full. At the same time, Mimi is getting concerned because they're supposed to leave to Mexico the next day. By June 9th, it has been 5 days since any of Travis's friends have heard from him. A few of Travis's friends, including Mimi, go to Travis's house. They knock, but nobody's answering the door. So they call another friend to get the garage code. Travis has rented out bedrooms in the house, so he's got 2 roommates. They hear music on in Zach's room, who is one of Travis's roommates, and they ask him, hey, have you seen or heard from Travis? He said, no, he's in Mexico. And Mimi said, he's not in Mexico. I'm supposed to go with him to Mexico tomorrow.
So that roommate gets the key to Travis's bedroom.
I found the key to Travis's bedroom, and so I unlocked the door.
When they first cast open the doors from the master bedroom, there's this smell, this horrendous foul odor, something that appears to be rotting.
At this point, my heart was pounding, just because I feared for the worst. I opened the door, and immediately as soon as I opened it, there was a puddle of blood on the carpet. And so as soon as I saw that, and so I could see the blood all over the ground, all over the walls.
As he turns the corner, he spots Travis curled up in the shower, and he's clearly dead and has been dead for several days. The friends frantically exit the bedroom and call 911.
What's going on? A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We think he's dead. His roommate just went in there and said there's lots of blood. I didn't go in, but I can give you the phone to someone who went in there. Yes, please, can you?
Hello. He's dead. He's in his bedroom.
Okay.
In the shower.
How did this happen? Do you have any idea?
No, we have no idea. Everyone's been wondering about him
Okay,
for
well,
a few days.
She said that there was blood. So is it coming from his head? Did he cut
No,
his hand?
it's all over the place.
Shortly before midnight on June 9th, Mesa Police Detective Esteban Flores arrived on the scene.
The first thing that caught my eye was the amount of blood all over. Floors, sinks, the wall, even saw some on the ceiling, on the windows. It was everywhere. First thing I thought was there was a major struggle in here. He struggled with somebody, I thought maybe even 2 people at that point. My first indication was that it was deeply personal at that point.
Why did you think
somebody knew him. That somebody wanted him dead. It wasn't as though it was a burglary. It was somebody wanted to make sure that he was dead.
He was slaughtered. There's no other way to describe it. It was one of the most gruesome scenes many of the police had ever seen.
Travis was stabbed multiple times.
We began to count as many wounds as we could at that point. And we had to stop. There was just too many.
The wounds were not just numerous, they were devastatingly deep. I mean, his throat was cut from ear to ear.
Yes, it was hard to deal with. All the wounds were. When, you roll him over and you saw the several wounds on his back in a tight cluster, you knew this guy was almost motionless at that point, and just stabbing him in the back.
Whoever murdered this man was standing inches away from him when it happened. And as he crawled or staggered and tried to escape, they followed him. This was personal.
It was 3 or 4 in the morning. The phone rings. It was a colleague, and he said, Chris, T-Dog's dead. And I remember just saying, how did this happen?
It was a shock. I couldn't feel anything. I was sitting in the room by myself, and it hit me. Travis was gone.
Detectives spent a total of 3 days at that house processing the crime scene. They're looking for fibers, fingerprints, footprint, hairs. They're looking for anything they can find that can help them reconstruct the crime. What happened?
It was an all call. Everybody was there because we had a whodunit.
Did you see any murder weapons at the scene?
No, absolutely none.
So there was no knife?
No.
No gun?
No. It wasn't until the first morning that I happened to look down on the bloodstained tile, and I realized it was a shiny little object there, and it was a small bullet casing.
That was interesting to us because looking at the body, you really couldn't tell because of the mummification whether or not the person had been shot.
He had been murdered at least 3 times over. 27 stab wounds. His neck sliced. To top it off, he was shot in the head.
This was overkill to the extreme.
Investigators find on the wall leading to the bathroom a bloody palm print. Stray, long brown hairs are found on the bathroom floor and some stuck to the wall. The sheets had been removed from the mattress. Quite bizarre.
Travis Alexander's killer decided to wash the sheets. Cops make their way to the washing machine.
We went through the laundry room, and something just caught my eye, and it was on the washing machine. There was a slight little red stain. I just happened to lift the lid of the washing machine, and lo and behold, there's a camera.
A camera?
Yes.
Inside the washing machine?
Yes, it's extremely unusual. The computer forensic investigator, he called me up and said, "You're not going to believe what I just found."
It's the clue that's going to unlock this entire case.
That's unheard of, to have that kind of evidence.
This is about obsession. We are young. White hot sex. Rage. Love is a battlefield.
She was a chameleon.
Very possessive.
His kryptonite.
This was a woman, a gorgeous woman, who was fulfilling all of his sexual desires.
He made me feel unique and special.
The trial was a circus trial.
Jealous, devious killer shooting her boyfriend, stabbing him.
Raunchy graphic pictures.
This was the classic, can't live with you, can't live without you.
You know, it was a fatal attraction. Definitely a fatal attraction.
He was murdered. They're all thinking, she did it.
She had gone from blonde bombshell, sex pot, boom, now she's walking into court looking like a librarian.
And we're like, that's it? Are you kidding me? You sliced this guy up and stabbed him. And you don't remember any of it?
None of it proves that I committed a murder.
But Jody is still fighting, and she has a pending appeal right now.
So, is this case ever going to be really over? Who knows?
Love is a battlefield.
Well, I just wanted to offer any assistance that I might have. I was really good friends with Travis's, and
What have you heard so far?
I heard that he passed away, and I heard there was a lot of blood. I heard that his friends found him, or people were. I'm sorry.
Within hours of the body being discovered, Jody calls the homicide detective to ask what was going on.
Do you know when all this happened? I mean, I got a call last night, but is there any word on?
Sometime between Thursday and last night. We're not sure yet.
She asks questions, but she doesn't seem to be overly stressed or overly concerned.
Maybe you can't talk about this, but was there, like, any kind of weapon used, or was there a gun? Was there?
I can't say what type of weapon was used, but yeah, I'm guessing there was a weapon used by some type of injuries that were left behind.
She wanted to know how he died, and she was probing for information. It's almost like I was being interviewed by her.
I've heard that nobody's been able to get a hold of him for almost a week, and that was about the last time I spoke to him too.
And what did you guys talk about?
It was brief. I was driving out to Utah, and he was like, "Are you gonna come out and see me?" And I'm like, "No."
She's explaining to him that she had been on a road trip to see this Ryan Burns, her newest love interest in Utah, and that she in fact broke up with Travis some time ago and hadn't seen him for months.
I know people were saying that she wasn't in town, but her name is coming up. She was an ex-girlfriend, and she wouldn't leave Travis alone.
Some of his closest friends began mentioning your name as, hey, you need to call her because she probably knows.
Detective Flores says, hey, now, people are saying that you guys had a fatal attraction. Jody immediately denies ever being in Arizona or anywhere near Travis's house on the night he was killed.
How would you describe your relationship with him?
We dated for like 5 months, and we broke up and continued actually to see each other. I kind of feel embarrassed talking about this, but it wasn't boyfriend and girlfriend. It was more like kind of buddy.
But you guys were not like romantically together at any time, or?
We were intimate, but I wouldn't say romantic as far as the relationship goes.
Now you say intimate, does that include like a sexual relationship with him?
Yeah, it does.
Detective Flores becomes increasingly intrigued by Jodi Arias. Here we have a former girlfriend of a man whose friends have said the ex-girlfriend's a woman scorned and angry, and now the former girlfriend's on the phone saying we're still having secret sex.
Yeah, and if you could just keep it confidential for now, because that he's Mormon, seriously looked down upon him in that church.
Jodi basically talks herself right up to the top of the list of potential suspects.
I had contacted her and said, look, if you're ever in town, please get a hold of me. We're getting fingerprints and DNA from everybody who has been in the house. And she said, absolutely, I'm coming down for his memorial service.
I just remember there being tons and tons of people. It was a great service. A lot of my siblings spoke.
I just loved to be with his family and his friends and just bring joy to everybody's life. He truly loved life.
Memorial service, I think, looking back on it, would have been something that he would have really liked, and they honored him in a very, very good way.
She showed up at the memorial for Travis down in Arizona as if she's some grieving widow.
They look across the room, and there is Jodi Arias. He was murdered. They're all thinking, she did it.
His family members were there, some family members, and there's a part of me that wanted to reach out to them. I don't think that they would have felt comfortable with me approaching them as much as I wanted very much to express my condolences.
While Jodi's in town and the investigation is ongoing, police are collecting evidence from everybody. Jodi volunteers to go down to the police station and be fingerprinted.
She got her fingerprints done. I had a DNA sample from her, and that's all.
His DNA because there was a bloody palm print at the murder scene, and they wanted to see, does it match Jodi Arias's? Well, until the forensics come back, there's a waiting game.
What doesn't take long to analyze is the memory card in that camera found in the laundry room. That took just a matter of days.
Computer forensic investigator, he's in office just below me. He called me up and said, you're not going to believe what I just found.
To their shocking surprise, there are photographs on this digital camera that are date stamped from the day of the murder.
He asked me, who's this girl? Because she was there the same day that he killed. And I took one look at it and I said, oh my goodness, that's Jodi Arias. She lied to me. She was there.
They find photos of both Travis and Jodi in sexually provocative positions. Photos of Travis in the shower, looking directly at the camera.
I believe that's the last photo that was taken of him before something happened.
The camera apparently accidentally somehow fell and took a couple shots during the course of the killing. Unbelievable.
One of the photos is of the back of Travis's head with blood running down, and in the foreground is a leg and a foot wearing blue pants.
It is one of the most astounding pieces of evidence in the history of jurisprudence.
The idea that even as the homicide occurred, the camera is continuing to click photographs. It's almost like having somebody videotape your murder.
The photographs are a huge deal in the case, but they're just one piece of the puzzle. They need that DNA to come back.
It takes about a month for the blood in that palm print to come back. And what it shows is the blood in that palm print is Jodi and Travis's.
It's like, oh my goodness, we now have evidence that places Jodi physically at the scene with blood on her hand.
Within a week, Flores is in Wairika, working with the Siskiyou Sheriff's Department to pick Jodi up.
Jodi Arias is taken into the interrogation room, and what she does there stuns the world.
Who does that?
In California, they are in Jodi's hometown, and they're about to move in and arrest her.
We knocked on her door with several deputies and placed her in handcuffs and told her she was under arrest for Travis's murder.
It was almost an out-of-body kind of experience. It was like I was watching the whole thing unfold.
I remember vividly her being walked towards me, and she had handcuffs on. And she took one look at me, smiled, and said, "Hello, Detective Flores, how are you doing?"
I traveled all the way up here to come talk to you because I believe you can help us.
I would love to help you in any way that I can.
They just wanted to know whereabouts on the day he passed away. They wanted to know a little bit about certain sequence of events.
Obviously, their number one goal here is to just get a confession.
The investigator starts asking her questions, obviously about where she was during the time Travis was killed.
She says she was on her way to Salt Lake City, Utah to meet with a new love interest, Ryan Burns.
You took a trip and you decided to go to, instead of going over to Utah, you went straight out to Los Angeles area. Which route did you take from there?
I was supposed to get on the 15 and go all the way up. And I somehow got off the 15.
Where did you end up?
For a while I was lost. I don't know where Phoenix is, and they said it's gotta be over here. I didn't go anywhere near there.
The problem with Jodi Arias' story is that this road trip has her arriving in Utah a day late. And that's what Detective Flores keys in on. Where were you that day?
This is what people are focusing on. It's this trip that you took. Because they're saying she left. She didn't get to till Thursday. Wednesday. That's when Travis was killed.
I did not go near his house.
Jodi has a slew of excuses about how she had this very strange trip. Jodi says, "Oh, my phone died."
I honestly got lost. It's bad timing.
Darn. Of all days, at the same time Travis was being stabbed dead, Jodi Arias claims to be lost, alone, and without a cell phone. Now, that's convenient.
We tried to contact her maybe 3 or 4 times throughout that day, and every time we called, it went straight to voicemail.
She shows up brown.
We watched a movie and spent some time together.
The two start making out very passionately. This is within hours of Travis Alexander being slaughtered.
We kissed a few times. We never had sex, but she certainly wasn't acting like she had something troubling her in any way.
Maybe she doesn't have the same ability of emotions that the rest of us do. I don't get it. Or she's doing a really good job of acting.
As Detective Flores keys in on that missing day on Jody's road trip, he keys in on something else. About a week before Travis's murder, a gun went missing from Jody's grandparents' house.
You guys reported a gun stolen. 25 auto. Just happens to be the same caliber as the weapon used to kill him.
A 25 auto was used to kill Travis.
She's always articulate, soft-spoken. She seems sincere.
I'm not guilty. I didn't hurt Travis. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty. I'm not a murderer.
I was thinking, oh, is she really telling the truth? Do I not have the right person?
If Travis were here today, he would tell you that it wasn't me.
Very quickly, I just snapped back into it and said, no, I've got the right person. She's just a really good liar.
Were you at Travis's house on Wednesday?
Absolutely not. I was nowhere near Mesa.
The detective is going on and on with Jody, and he's just not getting anywhere. Finally, the detective decides he's going to pull his card.
Detective Flores plays his ace, and his ace is those photos, which placed Jody in Travis's bed a few hours before he was killed.
What if I could show you proof you were there? Will that change your mind?
I wasn't there.
You guys had a sexual encounter, which there's pictures. I know you know there's pictures, because I have them, and they're dated and time-stamped on the day he died.
Are you sure it's me? I mean, because I was not there.
It's you. The camera actually took a couple of photos by accident during the time he was being killed.
Really?
Yeah, Jody, really.
Can you imagine what is going through her mind?
She must have been thinking, how did I leave that camera in the washer? Gosh, I thought I covered all my steps.
The first photo that Detective Flores pulls out is Jody.
The private areas of the picture because I didn't want her to be embarrassed.
That's you. I wanted to cover you up because that's you. All of you.
That looks like me.
That is you.
She looks at it, lifts up, looks at it again, and went, that looks like me. It is you!
This one I don't know if I should show you, but it's just one of the photos that was taken by accident.
It was very disturbing. It showed what looked like maybe it was Travis and what looked like a perpetrator of some sort.
It's your foot, Jody. That's Travis.
This is his bathroom. That is not my foot.
No matter how much evidence I would tell her about, she was not going to admit that she was even there.
You left palm print at the scene. In blood. This one, you absolutely cannot explain that away.
Could my palm print have already been there when I touched it?
Jody, this is over. This is absolutely over.
Jody, even in the face of incontrovertible evidence that proves that she was there at the time of the murder, Jody is still in denial.
This is a really trivial question, and it's going to reveal how shallow I am. But before they book me, can I clean myself up a little bit?
You're going to be taken the way you are.
Thank goodness they had a camera going, because nobody would believe what happened next.
She does this weird yoga-like back bend that's kind of sexual. She sings.
The stars are brightly shining.
She even does a headstand in the interrogation room. Who does that?
I noticed there was carpet on the floor, and I thought, this might be the last time I see carpet, so I'm going to do a headstand.
There's no words really to describe that kind of thought process.
Very, very odd behavior for someone accused of murder.
You should at least done your makeup, Jody. Gosh.
She wanted to put makeup on prior to getting her booking photo done because she knew that her picture was going to be on the internet and it's going to be on the news.
Jody is a narcissist, without a doubt. She wasn't about to have her mugshot taken without looking as pretty as possible.
She smiled for...
Jody returns to her jail cell, and the next day she has an entirely different story.
You just held the gun to my head. I was so scared.
After spending a night in jail, Jodi Arias comes in for a second day into the interrogation room, this time wearing an orange prison jumpsuit.
Now she has an astounding story to tell.
Brought her back in the following morning, asked her again if she was willing to talk.
What is it you can tell me about that day?
She said she would only talk to me.
Did Travis know you were coming? He knew?
This is hard.
You remember what time you moved in?
3 a.m. It's still dark.
I stayed in the house.
Slept.
In this story, Jodi was there at Travis's house. She said they went to sleep, then they had sex, and then she decided to start taking some photos of Travis while he was taking a shower.
And then suddenly all hell breaks loose. And she is attacked, and he is attacked.
I don't really know what happened after that. Exactly. Except I think he was shot. I don't really remember, except Travis was screaming. I think I got knocked out, but I don't think it was that long.
She came up with the off-the-wall story of 2 intruders in black and ski masks coming in to assassinate Travis.
White Americans, from what I could tell, they had, what do you call those things? They're like beanies, but they cover your whole face. Or your mouth.
This became known as the ninja story, that 2 people dressed all in black had come and killed Travis for some unknown reason.
One was a guy and one was a girl. They had an argument back and forth, and she wanted to kill him, and he didn't.
If they came to kill Travis and they killed him in such a heinous way, 27 stab wounds, shot in the head, why in the world are they not even going to touch you?
Why didn't they kill you?
He said that's not what we're here for.
I'm trying not to laugh inside because you have to be a good actor, to go along with her. And you try to show her that you have compassion for her story, knowing the whole time that she's the one who did it.
Did she have any weapons on her?
I thought she was the one with the gun, but maybe she had the gun, but he had a gun. So maybe there were 2 guns or one gun.
Okay.
He started coming in toward the bathroom too, and I...
What happened, Jodi? What did you see?
I didn't have like a little bitch.
You know what? This
held the gun to my head, and he was like, "You don't go anywhere." And he told the other girl to finish it.
In Jodi's explanation of the ninjas, she has herself fighting with the female. She wanted the police to believe that she was trying to protect Travis.
She came after me. She didn't get me.
How was she gonna get you? Did she have a weapon?
She had a knife.
You said she had a gun before.
I don't know if she had a gun.
They pointed out to her, well, wait. You changed weapons on me. What did she have, a gun or a knife?
Jodi continues to come up with phenomenal detail. She describes Travis looking at her, still conscious despite being mortally wounded, and pleading with her to go run and get help.
I couldn't leave without him. I was trying. I just said, come on, come on. He was naked, but I didn't care. Just come on. And he was like, I can't. I said, come on. He's like, I can't feel my legs.
The masked intruder story really had a sort of fantastical movie-like ending to it.
He got my registration out from my wallet. He said, you must be that bitch from California. And he said, if you ever say anything about this, he said they'll do to my family the same way. He said, you need to leave. You act like anything happened.
I mean, leave and don't ever tell anybody what you saw here. I don't think that would get past a Hollywood scriptwriter.
When you just left, she did try calling me. Why didn't you do that?
I was really scared. I was really freaked out of my mind.
She says she was panicked and ran out the front door and headed to Utah, never telling anyone that Travis was murdered.
The fact that they left you alive to let you go, that never happens.
Detective Flores is a seasoned homicide detective, and he was not buying it at all.
This is the most far-fetched story I've ever heard. And it's not going to help you.
Did not kill Travis.
I believe you did. And there's nothing showing anybody else did this.
I had planned to hurt him in any way. I'm not the brightest person, but I don't think I could stab him. I think I would have to shoot him continuously until he was dead.
That's telling, isn't it?
If you were accused of murdering someone you loved, would you parse words with a detective about...
This girl was not going to tell me the truth. She was never going to admit to it.
But it ain't over yet. There's a trial to come, and at that trial, Jodi Arias debuts not only a whole new look, but a whole new story.
Jodi Arias was locked up waiting for trial for more than 4 years.
Jodi was largely a model prisoner.
When she's behind bars, she wins a singing competition.
Oh, holy night.
An encore performance of Oh Holy Night.
Oh, night. Divine, oh, night.
Jodi needs the spotlight. And now she's locked up. She's got a captive audience.
She would invite journalists.
I guess I've seen better days, but that'll have to do.
To come in and interview her.
All of the evidence to me is very compelling, but none of it proves that I committed a murder.
She wanted to control the narrative.
I don't think it was warranted.
So she was constantly courting the media.
No jury is going to convict me.
Why not?
Because I'm innocent, and you can mark my words on that one.
Shocking murder case underway now in downtown Phoenix.
The trial was a circus. It was Arizona's version of the O.J. Simpson trial.
This entire street is lined with satellite trucks.
It's a real shock to people to think that a female could kill somebody in such a brutal fashion.
Mic check again. 1, 2, 3, 4.
The fascination of this murder trial is drawing crowds.
That's right, people actually standing in long lines.
The public was obsessed because this was a case that was drenched in sex. And lies. And sex. And religion. And sex.
People quit their jobs to attend this trial.
This is the time set for trial to begin.
When Jodi Arias first came into the courtroom, it was quite different from the image we had of her in photos with Travis.
She had gone from blonde bombshell, sex pot, boom, now she's walking into court looking like a librarian.
What a makeover!
Please be seated.
They don't sell Clairol hair dye in jail, so this is my natural hair color. My eyes deteriorated in here, my vision, so I got glasses.
It just seemed like it was all a ploy to manipulate the jury.
All right, this is the state of Arizona versus Jodi Ann Arias. Is the state ready?
Juan Martinez, the prosecutor,
Faced the same fate that Travis Alexander faced, and they felt they had plenty of evidence to back that up.
This is not a case of who's done it. The person who's done it sits in court today. It's the defendant, Jodi Ann Arias.
In prosecutor Juan Martinez's version of events, she had carefully planned this murder of Travis as an act of rage from a woman scorned.
She had planned or thought about killing Travis Alexander before she actually killed him.
Jodi was telling other people a story that she was going to visit Ryan Burns, who lives in Salt Lake City. That was her alibi.
She was going to drive down to LA first, and then from there she was going to come and see me.
the prosecution claimed that Jodi had stolen the gun that was taken from her grandparents' house.
Police believe she then engaged in what became known as the killer road trip.
She knew at the start of this trip that she was going to kill him.
She dyed her hair so that if anybody spotted her in the neighborhood, she wouldn't be that blonde that was seen a lot at Travis Alexander's home. She borrowed 2 gas cans from her ex-boyfriend and bought a third.
That seems strange because why would she want to take gas cans on a trip? Last time anybody was in California, the place is dotted with gas stations.
Her cell phone was conveniently off from the time she crossed over into Arizona.
I tried to call her at 9, but her phone went straight to voicemail, so I couldn't get through.
She knew that we were going to track her phone. She knew, and she did not want to leave a trail.
It seemed that she thought of almost every little detail. It was clear that this was premeditated.
She arrived at the house, she's having sex with them, they're taking the pictures. She's just waiting for a moment to kill him.
Back in 2013, ABC built an exact replica of Travis Alexander's bathroom and bedroom suite where the murder happened.
The prosecution's theory is that it begins here.
ABC News' chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, gave me the prosecution's version of what happened.
It appears that she's the one that's taking the photographs of him in the shower, and there's many poses of the water running down him.
So she's taking photos of him and asks for one final picture where he's looking directly into the camera.
Look straight into the camera. The final picture of him alive.
He's in the shower. His defenses are down. He's very comfortable.
And at some point, the prosecution says she gets a knife and stabs him in the chest.
He's stabbed.
Coughs up blood on the mirror.
And at the same time, she continues stabbing him, according to the prosecution, in the middle of his back.
Mr. Alexander did not die calmly. He fought.
He somehow continues to try to get away. Around right here, he goes
falls
down.
And that's where the slitting ear to ear took place. And that one was rapidly fatal.
At this point, she then decides to drag him back into the bathroom.
By the time she was dragging him down, he didn't need that shot to the head. But she had a gun somewhere. She got that gun. She put that bullet right in his temples.
She did everything she could to make sure that he was never going to leave that bedroom unless it was a body bag.
Now we want to hear, what's the defense case going to be? How are they going to beat back all of this evidence?
So, Lamont, you may proceed.
They had to kind of construct a whole alternate storyline to explain this behavior.
Jody was Travis's dirty little secret.
Her mission was to murder my brother again by destroying his reputation.
Miss Arias, you may come forward and take a seat, please.
Jodi Arias had changed her story twice, and Jodi Arias now had a third story.
Did you kill Travis Alexander on June 4th, 2008?
Yes, I did.
Why?
She's the one that did the stabbing. She's the one that slit his throat. And she's the one that shot him.
This was a life or death trial for Jodi Arias.
If Jodi was going to be found not guilty in any way, she had to explain away this evidence.
Her defense attorneys say she, Jodi Arias, insisted on taking the stand.
Miss Arias, you may come forward and take a seat, please.
I was shocked. It's not often that you see a murder suspect in a death penalty case take the stand in their own defense.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Yes, I do.
Jodi Arias had changed her story twice from not being at the scene at all to being attacked by two apparently professional killers dressed as ninjas. Jodi Arias now had a third story.
Did you kill Travis Alexander on June 4th, 2008?
Yes, I did.
and I defended myself.
She now changes the story to self-defense.
It was Travis's continual abuse. And on June 4th of 2008, it had reached a point of no return.
The only path the defense could take was basically make Jody the victim. Demonize Travis as much as possible.
The strongest play of the defense was to point to Travis Alexander's hypocrisy, that he was viewed as a chaste Mormon when he was having this sordid sexual relationship with this woman.
The defense introduced a much anticipated audio recording.
You'll actually hear a recorded call between Travis and Jody. That's very explicit.
The courtroom's full of a lot of Mormons and women, Travis's family, and we start hearing them having sex.
I'm gonna tie you to a tree.
Oh my gosh, that is so debasing. I like it.
The sex tape was like a hand grenade thrown into this trial.
You're bad. You make me feel so dirty.
You are dirty.
We are just horny toads.
Jodi Arias said she was physically battered by Travis Alexander 4 times.
Her mission was basically to murder my brother again for a second time by destroying his reputation.
He crossed the room and he started shaking me. And he body slammed me on the floor. He called me a bitch and he kicked me in the ribs.
There was absolutely no proof that Travis had ever been physically abusive with her or anyone in his life in the past.
Jodi Arias would stop at nothing to make that jury hate Travis Alexander. What's the worst thing you can say about someone when they're not around to defend themselves?
I went into his bedroom and Travis was on the bed masturbating. And I got really embarrassed. He started grabbing at something on the bed and it was a photograph.
What was in the photograph? What was the photograph of?
It was a picture of a little boy.
I don't know how much lower you can go than labeling a charge of pedophile at somebody, but that's what she...
None of these claims were ever proven. Police never found child pornography anywhere in Travis's house.
We hear Jodi Arias' testimony about her tortured relationship with this monster, Travis Alexander. But what it all boils down to is what happened the day Travis was murdered.
Trying out different poses, and as I moved the camera, it slipped out of my hand. Travis flipped out, and he stepped out of the shower.
So she claims he comes out.
Renowned defense attorney Kathleen Zellner recapped what Jodi says happened in Travis's bathroom.
He lunges at her
and he picked me up. I was crouching, but he lifted me up as he was screaming that I was a stupid idiot.
Flips her over in a body slam.
And he body slammed me again on the tile.
She recovers from it though and takes off down the hall. She claims now she's in fear of her life.
It was like I pissed him off the worst I'd ever seen him pissed off. He'd almost killed me before, and now he was saying he was going to.
She runs this way, according to her testimony, and then back into the closet.
Exactly.
So I ran into the closet. I remembered where he kept a gun, so I grabbed it.
She grabs the gun. It's a .25 caliber. She continues out this door.
Runs into the bathroom,
Correct.
to the middle of the bathroom,
Right.
at which point she turns around.
Right.
Like a linebacker, he got kind of low and grabbed my waist. But before he did that, as he was lunging at me, the gun went off.
Shoots him right temple through the left cheek.
Basically, the gun went off and she doesn't remember anything after that.
I don't know if I blacked out or what. There's a huge gap.
Do you remember stabbing Travis Alexander?
I have no memory of stabbing him.
Do you remember dragging him across the floor?
Oh.
We're like, that's it? Are you kidding me? You sliced this guy up and stabbed him. You stabbed him in the heart. You almost decapitated him, and you don't remember any of it?
The most clear memory that I have after that point is driving in the desert.
That's all the questions I have, Judge.
The self-defense story was a joke. My brother didn't even own a gun.
The defense's case was not very strong. To try and paint Travis as this abusive pedophile just wasn't believable.
It was never backed up with evidence. It was just, here's Jody's story, believe me or not.
Ladies and gentlemen, I understand you have reached a verdict.
I'm kind of grasping the armrest,
I remember hearing somebody let out a gasp.
but it's not over.
Another day of deliberating coming to an end for jurors in Jodi Arias' very high-profile murder trial.
It was very nerve-wracking to wait for that verdict.
We'd been in this trial for nearly 5 months and living this case for much longer than that.
On the day of the verdict,
The jury came in, they sat down, and it was very somber.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty.
I remember hearing somebody let out like a gasp and then incredible relief.
As word made its way outside the courtroom, the crowd burst into joyous applause.
Everybody in my family was bawling. They were happy. We were all hugging.
I was really hoping the jury would see things for what they are. I feel a little betrayed by them. I don't dislike them. I didn't expect to walk away, but certainly not first degree.
Now we had to get into the penalty phase. Jody has the right to speak to the jury and tell them why she should not be put to death.
The people who will hurt the most are my family. I'm asking you, please don't do that to them.
She spoke all about the things that she would do in prison.
If I get permission, I'd like to implement a recycling program. Additionally, I've designed a t-shirt. This is the t-shirt.
She held up a t-shirt that said Survivor, which was a real slap in the face to Travis Alexander's family, who doesn't believe that she had been a victim of domestic abuse.
I want everyone's healing to begin, and I want everyone's pain to stop.
The jury deliberated, and they were 8 for death and 4 for life.
The jury gives up. A decision on her fate is postponed.
We can't come to a decision, and it was gut-wrenching.
A completely new jury is called, and a new trial is held just to decide what the sentence should be.
The jury in Phoenix voted 11-1 in favor of the death penalty, not enough to send her to death row.
And under the law in that jurisdiction, for the rest of her natural life, 2 mistrials at death penalty phase equals life behind bars.
Jodi is in Perryville Prison in Arizona, where she will spend every day for the rest of her life.
All right. But it's not over yet.
This court should reverse Miss Arias' conviction.
The case has gone up on appeal.
It's part of the appeal claim that because of misconduct by prosecutor Juan Martinez, that Jodi deserves a new trial.
The state denies any misconduct, saying that Jodi Arias had a fair trial.
I don't think Jodi Arias is going anywhere. She is fighting.
I'm not too concerned about it. None of it affects the fact that she murdered my brother and admitted to it.
She snuffed out a very bright light from this earth.
He was just larger
than around. He should have a beautiful wife. He should have a beautiful home. And he should have that beautiful smile that was on his face all the time.